that work really is, let's get under the surface of all of these challenges that you're having and figure out why they're there and be able to pinpoint that and know what the tools are to shift that, what the beliefs are that support who you actually are and how you're actually designed to operate in the world.
Welcome to the Mindful Method podcast, where we don't just fill your ears, we fill your mind with the tools to enhance your emotional and physical reality. I'm your host, Jordana Sade, here to guide you on this journey of the body-brain connection and help you take your power back to create the life you've always wanted. So grab a seat, because class is in session and our method is on the syllabus. Here at the Mindful Clinic, we're not just changing your mind, we're changing your life. One mindful moment at a time. Hi, everyone. It's Jordana. Welcome back to the Mindful Method podcast. I have such an exciting and wonderful guest with me here today. I'm so excited to introduce you to her. She actually did a mastermind with my group in MFM on human design, and it was one of the best ones we've ever had. We've had a few people come in and talk about human design, but every single person was like, I've never heard it explained this way. And if you guys know and follow me, you'll hear me say things like, I'm a projector, so that's why I'm this way. And a lot of people just don't really understand what that really is. So today I have Krystal Woods here, and yeah, just welcome. And I hope you guys learn a lot. Thanks for coming.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. And actually, as I was walking down into my office thinking about this and thinking about you, I was like, how do I know Jordana? And I'm like, oh, your assistant just like slid into my email one day a few months ago. And it just felt like a really synchronistic connection. So yeah, I'm so excited to be here.
No, but you really are just such an icon in the human design world. There are very few people that I know that can explain it in the way that you do. And I know that when you were teaching it in my group, you were really just scratching the surface. So I'm so excited to dive in with you.
I don't feel like I've ever been called an icon. So thank you for that. I appreciate that so much. Thank you. And that's really like my goal, is to help people understand that human design is actually not that out there, and it's not like woo at all. We're literally just, it's a language to describe and explain and understand human behavior. That's literally all it is, and how we interact with each other. So I try to explain it in that way so that people can understand, like, you know, I don't know, an undefined heart center just means you don't have anything to prove. Like, it's just like, I try to simplify it. So thank you for seeing me as you would, you projector.
Yeah. Okay, so can you just tell us a little bit about your story, and then kind of going into how you, like, I want you to start from the beginning, but then going into how you ended up in this space.
Well, I was born on May 9th, 19, no, I'm just kidding. I don't know. I don't even know how I got here, really. I'm a 1-3 profile in human design. So if you do have anyone listening who already knows what that means, 1-3 profiles are just like trial and error. We just kind of stumble along, and as much as I can have a plan for what I want, how I get there is always so unpredictable. And so I was actually a new mom, and I was like doing some fitness coaching for like an MLM, and just doing that whole thing on the side, and like learning about social media and getting my feet wet with personal branding and all of that stuff. I've always had a fascination with like human behavior. I was applying to graduate school to be a clinician when I got pregnant. So I've always loved that aspect of it. I loved the coaching aspect of it. And when my son was a toddler, he's almost 9 now. When he was a toddler, I just remember like talking to these women, and it's very similar to, I'm sure, a lot of the conversations that you have with women who are trying to lose weight or trying to get healthier. And I noticed like the ways that they were setting goals, and then the ways they were sabotaging themselves, and what those unique challenges were. And then when I found human design, which was like such a trippy experience for me, not literally trippy, but I had this full body visceral experience when I first heard about human design, and I knew that it was going to change the trajectory of my life, which of course we know that it did. But at that time when I learned about human design, I was just fascinated with understanding my clients better, and I'm a manifester. So I joke with my clients all the time that I know their charts better than I know my own. And that was really where I was coming from at that point, too. Like, wow, I really understand my clients on a deeper level. And then I started to understand myself more. I thought that I was a projector when I first learned about it, because I just resonated with the projector type the most. And then when I
Mm.
learned I was a manifester, it was just such an unfolding, unraveling journey for me. And it's been really beautiful, but my business has been built on that work, really, is let's get under the surface of all of these challenges that you're having and figure out why they're there and be able to pinpoint that and know what the tools are to shift that, what the beliefs are that support who you actually are and how you're actually designed to operate in the world. So yeah, now what I do is I've been in the thick of restructuring my entire business because I'm a single mom now, and that was a huge rude awakening for me. So I do a lot of different things, but I mostly teach human design. I mentor people in human design, and it sustains me, this business that just like, I don't know, evolved from my imagination, now is like sustaining me and my children. And I'm working with people and uncovering their limiting beliefs and doing subconscious reprogramming with human design. So yeah, here we are.
I love this so much. And one thing that really stood out to me is obviously very similarly, I'm working as a nutritionist and I'm like, okay, if I'm giving out meal plan after meal plan, nobody's getting any better. Like, what is this? Like, why can't human beings just behave in the way that connects to the desire that they have? Like, what is this self-sabotage thing? And so for me, like, I was like, go deep into psychology, like understand all of that. But even then, psychology, like, doesn't necessarily, it's not the full picture. And I think, I use things like hypnosis and whatever, but it's just two people can have the same trauma, for example, like sexual assault, and like one person will view it a different way, perceive it a different way, have different tendencies because of it, and in opposition to another one, right? And yeah, I love human design. When I learned I was a projector, I was very upset actually, because I was convinced I was a generator, because my story back then was I had to work, 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 hustle, hustle, hustle. And I was like, I'm the most productive person, type A personality. And so stepping into my like projector, like slowness, creativeness, it really was difficult for me. But now that I'm like settling into it, I'm like, oh, it makes so much sense. And actually, I'm so grateful I'm a projector. And now I understand my gifts a lot more. But if I had not had that connection, like, what I'm trying to say is all the psychology that I knew and applied in my own life couldn't have created that transition between like I have to hustle and grind to now actually I can be even significantly more successful working a whole lot less and doing things that feel really aligned and exciting and bright for me. So I'm very grateful for human design as well. But for those who are listening that have no idea what human design is, can you just tell us a little bit about what it is, where it came from, all that stuff?
Yeah, it's just a self-awareness tool. It's just a tool to understand what's going on underneath the surface of your behavior. So why are you behaving a certain way? And it the way that you get your human design, it's based on all of these different systems. So it incorporates Western astrology, which is what we know as astrology, like pop astrology. Um, Also the Hindu Brahmin chakra system. So the seven chakras, human design, it's kind of based on that, but it's a little bit different. And then also the Kabbalah tree of life and the Chinese I Ching, which is an ancient oracle text. So the man who kind of built this whole system and made it his body of work and, gifted it to the world, he built a lot of it off of those systems and those wisdoms, and then also modern science and all of that. But basically, what you do is you put your birth information in a little chart generator and it prints out this chart for you, and it has these shapes and these colors and these lines and these numbers. And a lot of people get overwhelmed when they see that. But you can think about it almost like a map of your brain, and everything that is colored in. So all those lines and shapes that are colored in, those are like the behaviors and the neural pathways that you are uniquely coded for from genetics and also from, where the planets were at the time that you were born. These are the behaviors that you are coded for. And then everything that's not colored in your chart, this is where we know that you are being influenced by your environment. So the
Mm,
people around you and the way that they're behaving, and the energy that they bring to the table, right? And so this is both seen and unseen. And so we're talking about actual behavior and, what's underneath the surface of these behaviors. So what is the energy underneath it too? And so there's this energy dynamic to it as well. And so, but there are a lot of things that you can gather from the chart. It's just a tool to understand yourself on a deeper level. For me, I've gone through a lot of evolutions of my journey of learning human design. At first, it was like, okay, let me understand myself and how, I've been operating in a way that's so not this. And let's experiment with it. And that's usually what we call it in human design. Like we'll say, how long have you been in your experiment? Because that's
mm,
really all it is. It's like saying, like, you didn't resonate with your type in the beginning, neither did I. A lot of people don't. And they're like, this is bogus. It's like, no, you're actually just probably really conditioned. And so
mm,
the first question I always ask people is, well, how's that working for you? How does
mhm.
life feel for you? How does work feel for you? How do your relationships feel for you? And a
Yeah,
lot of times, can I swear? I'm like,
of
shitty.
course. Yes. Yeah.
Um, so a lot of times really shitty. And it's like, okay, well, why don't you just experiment with a different way of being? And look, here's a map. Here you
Mm.
go. So it's really like this, it's a map or a user manual for what is the purpose that you came here with? How are you meant to influence others? What change are you here to bring to the world? And it can really give you a lot of information about all of those things and relationships. It's like it's never ending. I've been doing this for almost 6 years, and like there are still plenty of things that I would love to explore more in different angles I would love to take. So yeah, it's a very robust tool for self-awareness.
Amazing. And I remember when you explained how like all the different theories or paradigms that are connected to human design, like the astrology, the Hinduism. And I just resonated with that so much because I had just done a course in meditation where I learned about all the different, not necessarily religions, but like constructs of people that use spirituality and use meditation in different ways, whether it's prayer or we're going on a journey or whatever it is. But what really resonates with me the most is like whatever you believe in, whether it's God, universe, whatever, like there is this kind of, in whatever culture you're from, it seems different, but it all is connected. And I think that that like oneness is really well mapped out in human design. Like it kind of brings all these concepts together that are all valid in their own way and creates this like amazing all-encompassing experience. So super cool. Can you please tell us what the like typical, like what the designs are and give us like a little brief on them?
Yeah, so depending on like what, you're coded for, these different connections and pathways are created to give you what we call your aura, which is actually just your electromagnetic field. So
Mm,
all of these connections create energy, charge. And so that charge creates your aura. And that's what we're describing when we say the human design types. So we're
mm,
describing like what is your electromagnetic field? How does it operate? How does it move through the world? What influence does it have? And how is it experienced by other people? And when you know all that, you know how to move with less resistance, right? You know how to relax into your being and you stop forcing things so much. And really, that's like the number one indicator that you are out of alignment with your type is that if you feel an energy of forcing a lot in your life. So I'll start it with that. So there are 5 different types. And you are one of these 5 types, everyone is. And I like to look at them kind of like holistically and say, we all have our role and all the roles interact with each other. So we first have the manifestors, not first, but I always say first because I'm a manifester. But we have the manifester who kind of does go first. The manifester is the spark. Only 8 to 9% of the population are manifestors, so we're a little bit more rare. But the manifester is the spark. The manifester is really connected to cosmic intelligence, whether you call that God or the divine or the stars or source. There's manifestors have a different connection to this than other types do. And because of that, their aura is very protected. It's very dense. And if you look up your chart on any website, it will tell you it's repelling. I don't like using that word because it really turns people off and it's misconstrued. But really all it means is that your aura is very dense so that you are not as easily influenced. So that what information you receive from cosmic intelligence, I receive it in the form of visions,
Mm,
usually. Um, those can stay like pretty true to the
mhm,
source.
mhm,
So manifestors, because of all of this, their strategy is to initiate. They're, like I said, the spark. They kind of get things going. It's like, oh, I have this vision. And what happens, because manifestors, just like projectors, don't have that consistent physical energy to do and produce. What happens is that when a manifestor gets a clear vision, there's this huge surge of energy that comes with it. I just felt it in my body. There's a really big surge of energy that comes with it. And we call this a manifestor urge. And so it's basically like, it can almost feel manic sometimes because it's like, okay, I've got this vision, I've got energy for the first time in a couple of weeks, like, let's go. And then we can really get very fixated on that. And the other part of the manifestor strategy is to inform. I don't love the way that a lot of people talk about informing, as if it's necessary for a manifestor to inform anyone around them of what they're doing. It's not. Manifestors do what manifestors do, but the informing piece is more to see who responds to your vision, who's excited by your vision, who wants to get on board, who sees your vision, which brings me to projectors. So yeah. Oh, and by the way, if you are a manifester, and you can run your chart on my website, I'm sure we'll have a link in the show notes, but you can get your free chart on my website. If you are a manifester, it's going to say you're not self is anger. That's your indicator that you're out of alignment. That's your indicator that, your visions are being too influenced by the world around you, or you're waiting for permission, or you're asking for permission, or you're not giving yourself permission, or you're exhausted. You could be doing too much. I've seen that a lot. My brother and sister are both manifestors and they're a lot younger than me. And like watching them go through high school, I'm just like, holy, my mom's like, why are they so angry? I'm like, they're exhausted, truly exhausted. So, and very similar to the projector, which is the type I'm going to talk about next. Projectors make up 20% of the population. And so it's like, if manifestors have the vision and they bring the spark, the projectors see the vision, like see the manifestor and see their vision, and they provide the guidance for it. So projectors are the seers. They have their aura is like a laser. It's yours. It's laser focused. It's like you just see straight through people, like straight through to the heart of them, straight through to their core, straight through to their essence. But what you also do is you see their energy and where it's going and how, like the frequency of it. So that comes in handy as a projector when you're guiding, right? Because you're like, oh, okay, so there's this manifestor with this vision, and like, look at this little generator over here with all their energy, and like, look at this person over here. They would be so good on this project too. So you're really good at bringing the right people together because you can see them so clearly. My mom is a projector and she's constantly like moving people into different positions at work because she's like, you were hired for this, but this is clearly your zone of genius, and you have a really good sight. That said, because you can see things so clearly, because you can see things others can't, because you can kind of make these connections that others don't necessarily have the ability or aren't in the right mind to do, when you tell people and they're not ready for it, or they're not in the right frame of mind, or they're not in alignment, they're not in resonance with you, they're going to not like that. They're going to resist that. They're going to repel that. And when that happens, because you as a projector like don't have this consistent physical energy, this consistent energy to produce, when you give your energy to someone who takes it and gives nothing back in return, including recognition or appreciation or gratitude, not only are you extremely drained energetically, but you're also bitter, really
Yeah.
bitter. Like, how dare you? You know? But really, like under the surface of that for projectors is this insecurity, right? Because pro- the path of the projector is really like you need to be able to see and validate yourself. Because if you can do that, then you will not be throwing your energy around in the wrong places to the wrong people at the wrong time. Because
Mm.
you'll be so secure in yourself and your value, you know exactly where to go, you know exactly who appreciates you, and you don't give your time or your energy to anybody else. So that's usually the path for the projector because they'll be like, well, no one sees me. And the signature is success, right? So you'll know when you do feel seen. You'll know when you do feel recognized. You'll know when success does come to you. But that cannot happen if you do not believe in it, if you do not see it for yourself, right? If you can't believe in it yourself, then it could be right in front of your face and you're not going to see it. There could be other people that are right there recognizing you and seeing you and appreciating you, but you're so focused on the person in front of you who's not and that you're exhausted by that you don't see it, right?
Mhm.
So if you're a projector and you're like, oh yeah, I'm pretty tired and oh yeah, I am pretty bitter and playing the victim in my life. Take the journey of seeing and recognizing and valuing yourself and not just what you do for others, not just what you produce, but the value that you bring as a person. I remember this one time, this was a couple years ago. I went to my cousin's house and neither of us are projectors, but I love this for projectors. So we're sitting there and she's a manifesting generator. She's a Virgo. Like she just, I have her come over to my house for when I'm throwing parties. I'm a Taurus. So like when I'm like, I'll throw the party, but can you just come and like do it, set it up, you know, like I'm just gonna have a glass of wine and cut some charcuterie while you do your thing, right? And so I go to her house for a party and I just like sit my ass down. I'm like, as I'm sitting down, pouring myself a glass of wine, I'm like, do you need me to do anything? She's like, no, just sit there and, you know, look pretty. And I'm like, I want you to know that I do feel the pressure to get up and do things. You know, it's just like because I love you and you're my cousin that I don't, but it's there. And she's like, I want you to understand that I don't invite you over to my house to help me with the party. And I don't just invite you because you're my cousin. I invite you because you bring lively conversation. You make people think. You draw people in and you get people having fun. And I'm
Mm.
like, oh yeah, like she just really saw the value that I bring to a space just by being myself. And so if you can do that for yourself as a projector, you'll start to see all the ways that your environment is going to reflect that right back to you, right? Which brings me to the next type, which is a generator. So if the manifestor is the spark and the projector is the guide of that spark, the generator is bringing the energy, generating the energy to actually like move forward, keep going. Because what happens a lot of times is the manifester and manifesting generators too. But the manifester will be like, okay, I started it. I got all these people on the project. Like, I'm bored now. Like, I'm done. You know, because that's really their job, you know?
Mm.
And I want, if you're a manifester, hear me now. Your job is to initiate,
Mm.
period,
Mm.
period, the end, the end, done. Did my job, you know? It's like,
Yeah.
it's not, you know, to give you an example in my business, it's so funny. I was telling you before we started recording, I've had all this space. Like I had 2 weeks without my children. That's literally never happened as long as they've been alive. So, you know, for the first, I would say over a week, I literally just like stared at the wall and like could not do anything but eat and sleep, you know, because I'm like, I'm so tired. But after that, you know, after all of that space and all of that rest, I went to go do this project that we had planned to do. And my body was just like, like I couldn't do it. I couldn't bring myself to, that feeling? Like I was just like, I can't.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, God, show me what you want me to do. And I shit you not, God said, create a quiz.
Mm.
So in 3 days, this is the manifestor urge. In 3 days, I recorded like 20 videos. I created this like huge, it has turned into a whole thing that we've incorporated into our strategy. I mean, within 3 days, like this whole thing has taken on a life of its own. And I know that as soon as this thing is like picking up that momentum and people are getting on board, I'm going to be like, okay, how can I take my hands off? You know?
Of
And
course.
so that's why I have my business manager who is a generator, and she comes in and she keeps it moving, keeps it moving, keeps it moving, she sustains it. And that's what generators do. They bring this sustained, consistent, reliable energy to everything. They bring this methodical, like generators are very, I'm at the bottom of the staircase, I can see the top. How do I get there? Step by step by step. Whereas like a
Mm.
manifesting generator or a manifester is like how do I get to the top? And they're like tripping over the steps because they're trying to get there faster. Generators like, no, 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 slow and steady. Let me go at my own pace. There's a method to this madness. Let's figure it out, And so generators are just really exceptional at creating or following methods, processes, frameworks. Like they're really good at figuring out like how to build it, right?
Mhm.
Um, and if you're a generator listening right now and you're like, no, I'm so tired, I'm so drained. Everyone says generators should have energy, but I just don't have energy. That is because you are putting your energy into things that your body does not want you to put your energy into. So generators, your strategy is to wait to respond. So
Mm.
and a lot of generators get tripped up with that. They're like, oh, I'm supposed to just like wait around. I highly recommend listening to like Abraham Hicks or yeah, Abraham Hicks is a really good one, especially for generators who are trying to get in touch with their sacral response. And what I mean by sacral response is your sacral center in human design is responsible for your creative life force energy. This is the center that's responsible for that sustained energy that generators have. So the way that this center works though, it's very mechanical. It's very like this is for you and you have energy for it. So it's a full body yes. And I'm going to tell you that by giving you this feeling of expansion, by moving you in the direction of it. When a generator is a full body yes, it's like they power up. You know what I mean? They like power up. You can feel it. I'm sure you know what I mean. It's like when you're around a generator who's following their yes and they're excited about something and they're putting their work into something that feels really deeply satisfying to them, and they're building something worthwhile and they're really mastering something. That is a satisfied generator. That is a generator you want to have around you because you as a projector, me as a manifester, we like suck that energy right in. And it's not like we're taking it from them, but we amplify it. We
Yeah.
amplify it. And if we can
Hmm.
do that with intention, we can create some really cool shit, right? So generators following their yes, amazing. Now, if you are not, so meaning when you are pouring your energy into something that your body is like, this is a full body no, and you'll know because you don't have energy for it. You feel like you're dreading it. You're not looking forward to it. You feel stuck or stagnant or frustrated with it. That's how you know that you're pouring your energy into things that are not meant for you. So sometimes this means you need to pull your energy out of that thing. It might be a person, it might be a belief, it might be a job, a task, a project, whatever. Sometimes it's extracting yourself from it. Sometimes you can't do that. right? So what can you do in that case? And if you're a manifesting generator, listen to this too, because this all applies to you as well. Um, you need to change it somehow, obviously. It's like if you have no choice but to do this thing for whatever reason, or maybe you just have to grin and bear it for now until you can extract yourself out of it, you have to be able to get into a space where you can feel good about it and you can feel good about putting your energy into it. So, whatever you have to do to get there. Otherwise, yeah, you're not going to have energy. You're going to feel frustrated and stuck and not purposeful, which is like a slow death for a generator. So manifest, and they're 35% of the population. So we have a lot of generators. Manifesting generators make up 35% of the population as well. And manifesting generators are similar to generators in that they have that buzzing life force, creative, sacral energy flowing. They're generating it, right? So they've got that going on. But what's different about the manifesting generator is they also have this connection in their chart that is like a manifester where they get these urges or they get like really excited about something. And when they get really excited about something, they get this burst of energy. So where a generator energy is kind of like even keel, a manifesting generator is like even keel, spike, even keel, spike. So
Mm.
manifesting generators a lot of times are known for like being multi-passionate, but also having shiny object syndrome and not being able to focus on one thing. And so like they can get really tied up and feeling shame and guilt around that. And so if you are a manifesting generator and you resonate with that, I'm going to just clear that up for you right now. Manifesting generators are meant to be passionate about a lot of things and explore a lot of things, and then use their energy to bring those things together in a really innovative way. This is what manifesting generators are so exceptional at doing. It's like taking something that already exists, but blending it with all these other things that they love that already exist to create a whole new thing. It's like, I'm trying to think of a famous manifesting generator that would be good. I'm like, I can only think of like business examples, but
It's okay to use a business example for sure.
I'm thinking of one of my mentors, Hannah Nieves. I don't know if you follow her, but she's like PR branding marketing queen. She has built all these brands that seemingly are could be totally unrelated. Like I hear so many manifesting generators like whine about the fact that their interests are not related in any way. And I'm like, that's such a beautiful thing because look at Hannah. Hannah has created this, like, she has created her own beautiful blend of marketing, branding, and PR. She's tied them all together in her own framework. She's also brought in her passion for building generational wealth, but she's also brought in her passion for interior design. So she has this brand where she has a studio space where people come and rent the studio space, but it also ties into her business because her business has events there. So it's like
Mm.
all these different ways that she's taking her passions from, her real estate career and this over here. She's bringing them together in this really innovative way. And she's built an empire, and no one's doing it the way she's doing it because she's a manifesting generator following her bliss and bringing her passions together seamlessly. And that's what she's here to do. So if you're a manifesting generator, that is what you are here to do in your own way. You'll know that you're not doing it when you're beating yourself up, when you are feeling really tired, when you're feeling really frustrated, when you don't feel like you have any interests or passions, when you don't really have much of an appetite, when you don't really have much of a libido, when yeah, it's just kind of like this, you're drained of your creative life force energy. That's what it feels like. So if you're feeling that way, I always have, especially my generators and manifesting generators, but this exercise is good for anybody. I call it the energetic inventory. And what you do is for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, however long feels good for you, you carry around a little energetic inventory journal. And or you can do it on your phone. But you actually take note of everything that you put your energy to throughout the
Mm.
day. So you really try to get really, really present so that you can pay attention, and you write it down. Oh, I woke up in the morning and I scrolled on my phone for an hour, or I did breath work for 15 minutes. You could even put how you feel. Like, do you feel like you were generating energy or draining energy? And at the end of that period of time, you're going to make a little ritual for yourself, carve out some space and time, get really, really connected with yourself, whatever that means for you. Manifesting generators, especially, but both generators and manifesting generators, like definitely some movement, ground, clear, and get in touch with that sacral response inside of you, that part of you in your gut that tells you, like, yes, this is a yes, or no, this is a no. And then you're going to go down that list. And then you're going to make another list of all the no's and another list of all the yeses and another list of all the I'm not sure's.
Mm.
And it's going to be really, really illuminating if you actually do it. But then you know exactly what needs to shift, you know exactly what needs to go, and you know exactly where to put more of your energy and time, you know? So that all leads me to our last but not least type, the reflectors. And if you're a reflector listening to this, first of all, hi, I'm so excited. Please say hi to me because reflectors are so rare. And second of all, I'm so sorry that I did you last, but like they're used to it because reflectors only make up 1% of the population.
Wow.
They're yeah, they're very special, obviously, but when you look at their chart, it's all white. It's all open. So what does that mean? If you think back to what I said at the beginning of the episode, anywhere in your chart that's white, that's where you're extra susceptible to influence from your environment.
Mm.
This is also, I didn't mention it, but because it's kind of a nuance, but this is also where we reflect other people's behavior back to them, other people's energy back to them. So as a
Mm.
reflector, that's what you're doing. You're very influenced by whatever's around you and you're reflecting it back. You know, because it's how you feel, it's how you talk, it's how you move. All of those things are a reflection of what's going on in your environment. So for reflectors, um, first of all, they're also unique in that they're very connected to the lunar cycle. So this was a theory is that reflectors are really connected to the lunar cycle. And I think they're here to teach us how important it is to connect with the lunar cycle because we're all obviously made up of a lot of water. We're all affected by the lunar cycle. It's why my mom, when she worked in a mental hospital, they like hunkered down on the full moon because they knew, you know? So we're all affected by the lunar cycle, and reflectors are like, okay, who am I at all of these phases?
Mm.
And so they kind of, because they're so susceptible to their environment, because they're so open and kind of reflecting back whatever is in front of them, it's very easy for them to kind of lose that themselves. Like, who am I underneath everybody else? Who am I without any of that? And so the lunar cycle can really help them connect with that because they can pay attention to, oh, during this part of the cycle, I'm super chatty, you know? So maybe like during this part of the cycle, like this is really where, you know, and your own personal cycle can come into play with this as well, but this is really more about wherever the moon is and what it's activating in your chart and how that's making you feel as a reflector and being able to track that and find some pattern with it so that you can be a little bit more mindful about how you're spending your energy in the environments that you're finding yourself in throughout that cycle. So the most important thing for reflectors is to curate an environment that you feel like the best version of yourself in. So
Mm.
that's the
Mm.
people around you and the actual physical environment, both macro environment, like like the locale, but also micro environment, like your house. Is it an environment that turns you into the version of yourself that feels the most like you? And when that's not the case, you're usually pretty disappointed with life. Everyone disappoints you. No one lives up to your expectations. Nothing lives up to your expectations. It's just like people are so disappointing and you disappoint yourself. But when you can really get into connection with yourself, and you can also learn discernment between someone else's energy and your own, so you can actually experience that person for who they are without becoming them. That's when life feels really surprising and delightful because it's almost like you get to experience a different version of yourself, or you get to experience different parts of yourself getting lit up by all these different people. And because you've been so discerning with your energy, the people that are coming to you are all delightful and they're all surprising you in delightful ways. So, um, when you are a reflector, you'll know you're in alignment because life does feel like surprising and you go with the flow, but also you feel very appreciated and almost like revered in your community. Because reflectors, if the manifestor is the spark and the projector is the guide and the seer and the connector, and the generator is the builder, and the manifesting generator brings that excitement and that innovation to whatever we're doing, the reflector is the overseer. The reflector is reflecting back to us our progress based on, how things are feeling. And they're really great in that role when they're in the right environment. So if you're feeling like you're really great in that role right now, whether that be in your family or in your work, wherever it is, that's a sign that things are really on track for you. So I think I hit it all. I think I hit all the types.
That
I
was
did them
insane. That
all. I
was
did them
so good. You did them all. That was insane. And it's so funny because as you were talking, I was thinking about my business. And so I really primarily only hire generators. Like it's like on my application now, are you a generator? But it's funny because I like anybody who knows me really personally knows that like what I really kind of need is like a businessman. It's not a manager, but it's like someone to be like, I have this idea. I need you to do this. And I'm like, okay, like, and that is kind of where as a projector, like the manifestor, it just understood it so well when you said it. Like that manifestor is like initiate. Okay, I have the full body download. Like I want you to record a reel on this, and then I like go and like see it and whatever, do it, and then I'm the whatever the on stage like lighthouse as a projector, and then the generator does it. So or sustains it, but both my like right hands were both generators, and they just one of them obviously was feeling tired and not aligned, and so she actually just quit, and God bless her, I love her so much. But as this new generator that I have stepped into that role, it's so fun watching her get so excited about like the details and like learning the systems, and like you can just she's so activated by it, and I'm just like, I want nothing to do with that, but like God bless you, like you're amazing. But it's so cool to see now that you've explained that, how the people in my life and in my business, I can really see them when they're thriving, when they're in the right role. And I can also feel when they're super not, right?
Oh, yeah. It's very,
Yeah.
especially once you have the awareness.
Hi, babes. I am so excited to talk to you about my signature program, the Mindful Method. This is the exact same method that I have been using with hundreds of successful clients to help you heal your relationship to food, to increase confidence, and to lose weight without dieting or killing yourself at the gym. If you're sick of not feeling like your best self, if you're sick of promising yourself that you'll start again on Monday, if you're sick of going on restrictive diets only to gain back the weight, I can tell you right now that if you gained it back, it did not work. You know what's healthy and what's not. You do. You just continue to choose the unhealthy option anyways. And a meal plan will not solve this issue. There is no amount of restriction or discipline or willpower that is going to stop you from self-sabotaging. The body follows the mind. Imagine a life where you don't have to think about what you can or can't eat. Imagine a life where you feel confident in all of your clothes, where every day in every way your body rebalances and you lose all of the weight so you find the truest, healthiest version of yourself. Imagine never having to start again on Monday. This is what happens when you focus on transforming the brain so weight loss is effortless. The body follows the mind, and it's time you actually get to the root cause of your issue. If you are ready to transform and find the truest, healthiest version of you without letting go of your favorite foods, I invite you to fill out the application in my bio. And if you're a good fit, we'll be in touch soon. Back to regular programming.
I started to talk about this earlier, and I think we got on another topic, but my journey of learning human design has kind of been that, where I started with wanting to understand, how I operate for my own benefit. But then I wanted to understand how other people operate so that, first of all, it helps you to find more understanding within yourself for that person. And it helps you meet them where they are without feeling like you need to become them, which I have an undefined G center. That's your identity center. So I am totally guilty of just falling into other people, becoming them. And this allowed me to put separation and also be able to look at another person and the experience that they're having, even if it was something that I didn't like. Still, now I use this all the time. I'm like, okay, I don't like this. And also, I have a very clear understanding of exactly where this is coming from and exactly why. So I can set a boundary and not accept it, but also I can have a lot of compassion and not get activated by it in the slightest. And that has
Mm,
been such a gift to be able to
mm,
just like fully accept people for who they are as they are without feeling like I need to change them. I mean, that has brought me peace, which as a manifester, that's, you'll know that you're aligned when you feel completely at peace with the way things are. And I think human design has given me that gift over and over and over again. And beyond learning about other people, it was like, okay, let me learn about this for myself. Now let me learn about it for other people. Now I'm understanding humanity as a whole on a much deeper level. And I'm seeing the whole purpose of the system as a whole because, you know, because there are these drives underneath the behavior, it's not just like, oh, I have this because I'm here to make a lot of money. It's like, no, actually, from an evolutionary standpoint, here's the purpose of this behavior and here's who it's in service to and why. And it just adds so much more depth and understanding to like the whole puzzle and how
mhm.
we're each a piece, but how, where we all fit in and why. So it's been, you know, it's like I said, almost 6 years, but that's been such a beautiful gift is to be able to fully just accept other people and accept things as they are. Yeah. I'm
Yeah.
like, no words, no
Okay,
words.
yeah, no, getting triggered. Yeah. And it, as you were explaining them too, I was like, wow, it's so cool how we have this little, it's like a business, like just every person has their own, ideas and desires and like their own space and everything kind of just like works together. So this is like the business of human life. We,
Yeah. No, I mean,
yeah,
it is
yeah,
totally.
yeah.
It's cool. Yeah. It's cool how it all fits together. And I say that too all the time. Like, I feel like in the human design community, or just when you start learning about it, it's very like, this is me, that's
Mhm,
not me, which is really helpful as you start that deconditioning process. Being able to see what are the behaviors, thoughts, beliefs, patterns that are authentic to you and which are not. But what I really want people to understand eventually about human design is that it's actually very dynamic and it's not so like, I'm this, that's it. I like
yeah.
to look at it like, here's what I'm learning about life from all of the types, you
Mhm,
know?
mhm,
And so, like, you know, you learn from manifestors not to wait for permission. We all
mhm,
do. We
mhm,
all learn from projectors to like stop what the fuck you're doing and look at a person and see them for their inherent value. It's important, you
mhm,
know? And generators teach us that no, it is important to see something through and to have a method for doing it that we can repeat. Like that is an important thing sometimes. And manifesting generators all teach us how to follow our bliss and pivot gracefully, and reflectors teach us how important it is to be in touch with our own bodies, our own selves, with the lunar cycle, and also curate really thoughtful environments that help us to be the best version of ourselves. So it's
mhm,
like, yes, I'm a manifestor, you're a projector, but what do we have to learn from all of the types about life and about how we want to live it? You know?
mhm, mhm. Yeah, one of the biggest, like I know as a projector, I have to like wait for the invitation. It fucking drives me crazy because I just like I know like I want it now. But yeah, so what would you say about that, about waiting for the invitation?
Yeah, I don't really I think people again get really tripped up about this, and remember that yes, we are talking about something tangible in that we're talking about behavior, but the behavior is a manifestation of the energetics before
Mm,
and beneath the behavior. So
true.
when we're
Right.
talking about the invitation or we're talking about waiting to respond, we're talking about something that you cannot see. So an invitation is not a call on the phone or an email like, hey, will you please? No, an invitation comes from life and it is a felt sense in your body and it's pulling you. It's
Mm,
you knowing, you being so attuned to yourself and your energy and where you are being seen and where you are being recognized and where you are being appreciated, that that's where you go and that's what you do. It's kind of like when you're in a conversation with someone. This is a really simple example. When you're in a conversation with someone, maybe a friend, and they're going through something, and you, as the projector, know everything there is to know about like their situation and what they should be doing and all of that, right? And maybe it's because not only do you see them, but you have also lived that experience and they simply do not have the perspective that you have. It's valid,
Mm,
but they don't know that. So it's like you could just sit there and be like, oh my, and then you're bitter that you're not saying anything. So it's like,
mm,
okay, you're going to say something and then you're going to feel bitter if they don't appreciate it, or you're going to sit here and feel bitter that you're not opening your mouth at all because you're waiting for the invitation. Both ways are wrong.
mm,
We don't like either of those ways. So what's the happy medium? And I'm always like, if you feel an invitation from life, and it's not pressure to prove that you're smart. It's not pressure to prove that you know them better than they know themselves right now. It's not coming from that place. It's coming from like life, God, source, whatever has has called you
mm.
to speak.
Yeah.
And in that case, then you say, "Hey, I've been through this. I have a different perspective and I would love to share it with you. Are you open to that?"
Mm,
And then if they say no, you at least are like, "Okay."
mm,
It's like
mm.
I get it. I see that too. And you can see that they're not receptive to it. But
Mm.
usually you don't even have to do that because you already know. You already
Yeah.
know. You
Yeah.
already know who and where and what is receptive to you. You already know where to go and you're waiting for the invitation from life, not from any other human, you know?
Yeah. Totally. When I became a nutritionist and I was like, learned everything was bad. My husband at the time we would go to parties and like, I would just be telling everybody, don't eat this, don't eat that. And like, nobody's asking, like nobody. And it's just because I'm in this like proving energy of like, everybody has to know, everybody has to do it this way. And I would say as I've stepped more into the projector role, not just with that example, but I'm so much more clear. Even I feel it in my body. So what you're saying is the invitation is that like feeling like I just know not to bother to say things to some people because even though I can see it so clearly, I'm just like it's a waste of my energy almost. And then in some cases, it's like I can't keep it in my body any longer. Like I feel like I'm gonna blurt it out if I don't like say something, right? So I think that was thank you. That was a personal question, but that was a really good way of putting it. Last thing I want to ask you, I feel like I could talk to you about this forever, but is so, and this is just a trivial question, I guess, but I know when I look at my chart, it says something like spaces, and I'm like, I'm like a cave person or a mountain person. Like, what does that mean when people are looking at their charts?
Yeah, it's your environment in your human design. So it's a much more subtle aspect of the chart. So I will first say that if you don't have an accurate birth time, if you're not sure that your birth time is accurate, then when you run your chart and it gives you your environment, it could be incorrect. But your environment is where your brain and body are best designed to thrive.
Mm.
So what did you say yours is?
Mine's mountains.
Mountains. So if you think about mountains, you can think about it literally. So like, basically the idea behind mountains and the physicality of it is that you actually thrive where the oxygen is thinner.
Mm.
Um, but symbolically, it's also that you're not coming down to anyone else's level and you're not coming down to get into the drama. You're not coming down. It's kind of like imagine a queen on a throne, right?
Yeah,
Like that
I
queen
will. Yeah.
is not going into the village to solve the problem. Do you know what I
Mm,
mean? And she's also, or to visit with her people, they come to her when she calls them,
mm,
and they form a line in her throne room and they come to her. It's kind of like that energetically for you. It's like you can't when someone else is having some drama and you can feel that it's drama and you come down and get into it with them, you're out of alignment with your environment
yeah.
on an energetic level. And then on the, in the physical, it's like being in places that have high elevation, also living somewhere that has like a view, that's really helpful too. Like you want to be able to see what's below you, if that makes sense.
Totally.
So yeah, but in business too, it's like your people are going to come, they're going to rise to meet you where you are. You're not necessarily going to come down here and hold their hands and bring them up to meet you, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So your offers are going to reflect that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's so helpful. And then you don't have to go into all of them because I know that there's so many, but like when I think I'm a 4-6.
Profile?
Yeah. What do
Yeah.
those profiles mean?
Yeah, so your profile is made up of two numbers. They go from 1 to 6, and there are 12 combinations. There are 12 profiles. These are like archetypes. The best way that I heard this described is it's the role you play in the movie of your life. So you have your life, the movie, and then you get the script, and like your profile is your role. So yeah, the 4-6, the first number corresponds to the conscious or your personality and how you see yourself and how you kind of identify. The second number corresponds more to your unconscious and maybe not necessarily like what you relate to and how you see yourself, but maybe other people see it in you.
I just checked my chart. I'm a 6-3.
Oh, you're a 6-3.
Yeah.
Oh shit. Okay, cool. Yeah, okay. So I'm just gonna go through the lines because yeah, people will
Yeah.
like that.
Cool. Thank you.
Okay, so the profiles are based on the 6 lines of the hexagram, which comes from the Chinese I Ching. So there are 6 numbers, 6 lines, and they describe a cycle, like the cycle. They describe like the cycle of anything. So we go from 1 all the way up to 6, and we begin again. So when you think about this in your profile, I just want to like lay that groundwork so that you understand like there's something underneath this. There's a purpose. So the first line, the 1, if you have a 1 in your profile, whether it's in the first place or the second place, then you're the investigator, you're the researcher, you're the person who it's kind of like you come to Earth and you're like, what is this place? I need to figure this out and I need to have a solid foundation so I feel safe and I feel secure. So if you have a 1 in your profile, that is your number 1 is safety and security and feeling like you have a solid foundation. So people with 1 in their profile usually feel really grounded, although they might not feel grounded because their path in this lifetime is to go from insecurity to security and understand that true security is within. But they will try to get security in every way that they can. So like this can be a silly example from like before going to a new restaurant, the 1 is like, hold on, let me look up the menu. What's the parking situation? I'm a 1-3, by the way. What's the parking situation? You know, do they have vegan options? What kind of oils do they use? What's the vibe? I gotta know, I'm really, because I want to feel, what we really want is to feel prepared. I want to feel prepared. When I feel prepared, I feel emotionally strong. And what's ironic about that is that a lot of times, because I have a 3, and I'm going to describe the 3 here in a minute, a lot of times I end up totally deviating from whatever plan I've created, but I need to have it. So if you're a 1, that's, yeah. But other ways you look for security are in money, in relationships, and life will bring you all these different lessons to help you learn that security comes from within. So when you just kind of can detach your idea of security from anything external and really go within, you'll feel the most prepared, the most strong, the most ready to do anything. The 2 is the hermit or the natural. The 2 is like naturally gifted. So if you look at this from like a progression, the 1, okay, we have a solid foundation of knowledge. What's next? Now we have our natural talents. Now we have things that we're naturally gifted at. And the 2 typically is just like they pick things up really easily. They are, they go to take a picture and it's like professional photographers took this picture, and you're like, how did you do that? And they're like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
And so the 2 has a tendency to be kind of self-deprecating in that way because they don't see themselves in that way, because it's like, this just comes naturally to me. This is how it is, right? And everyone else is like, no, teach me. but they don't want to teach you. They want to be left alone. And so you kind of, the two wants to be left alone. They want to be in their own world. They want to do their own thing, but people notice their talents, notice their gifts, and kind of want to pull them out. And so the two is constantly finding a balance between giving themselves plenty of space and time alone. They are the introverts, and also sharing their gifts when it feels really aligned. And then the three, so we've got our knowledge, we've got our natural gifts. Now we're ready to fuck around and find out. You know, we're like, okay, let's like do something with this. Let's experiment. Let's put things together and see what happens. You know, let's just make a move. Let's take a risk and learn the hard way. Right. And that's the three. The three is all about trial and error, all about embodiment, really. The three is the master of the material plane. So the three is all about having all of these experiences so that they have embodied wisdom about what does and doesn't work.
Yeah.
And they share that with the world. And for me as a 1-3, that becomes part of my foundation. It becomes part of where I find my security is in the wisdom gained from these experiences. And so if you're a 1-3, you might resonate with that. But you know, another theme for the three is bonds made and broken. So the three breaks bonds quite a bit. So like you're the friend that you'll talk to every day for 2 months and then won't hear from for 6 months.
Yeah.
Or, you know, like you're also like in a partnership, you just get to the point where you're like, if you don't get out right now, like I need a break from you, you know? My ex is a 3-5, I'm a 1-3. So what worked really well for us for when we were together was that every year I would take the kids, we lived in Hawaii at the time. I would take the kids to the East Coast to visit my parents for like at least a month. And he would be home in Hawaii by himself. And it was like we needed to like just completely break the bond. And we also were the couple that like we did not hang out every night. I know we're not together anymore, but these were the things that actually worked for us.
Yeah.
These are the things that really worked. We're like, I need to really break the bond from you. I can't just have a constant connection with you all of the time. So that applies to jobs, that applies to clients, that applies to everything. Yeah, but threes, you know, learn things the hard way, but don't have to. Like it can just be like, oh, I'm experimenting so I can learn something to be shared. And the work is really to release your shame around making mistakes and your fear around making mistakes. And then, okay, so at this point, we make a little bit of a transition. And so we go from, we're like learning all these things the hard way, but like we have a lot of embodied knowledge, a lot of embodied wisdom, and some natural gifts and talents to go forth with. And so now at this point, we have a message. We have something to say. We have something that needs to come out of us. And that's the 4. So the 4 is typically called like the networker, but the reason why is because the 4 has a message that needs to be shared. And so they're looking for an opportunity to do that. That's why they're called the opportunist as well. So they're looking for an opportunity to share their message, and they're going to do that through other people. The 4, their message tends to be pretty niche because a lot of what they know comes from experience, comes from somewhere that they are not even aware of. And the 4 tends to be just like a niche person, like a kind of different person in some way. And so they will naturally attract the people that they're meant to share the message with. And then they will share that message with their people, and they will share that message with their people, and so on and so forth. It's like the 4 in business is usually the one that I'm like, I wouldn't start with cold ads. I would start with an affiliate program. Do you know what I mean? It's like your best connections, all the magic and opportunities are going to come through the people that you know and the people they know. But yeah, the 4 is the one that's like, hey, I'm going to paint my house. And the 4 is like, oh, I got a guy. Or like, hey, I need oh, I got someone, you know, like they got someone for everyone. They know everybody, you know? And then we get to 5. the 5 is the leader, and we all can have leadership energy within us, but the 5 is the leader archetype of all of the profiles. So if you're a 5, half of you right now are like, no, I'm not a leader. Because the 5 typically is the most afraid to lead.
Oh.
And the reason why, I know, the reason why is because like we can sense all of these things in each other, right? Like the behavior is the manifestation of it, but we sense all these things energetically as well. And like we sense in the 5 that they are a natural leader. And whether you identify as a leader or not, I bet you identify as a problem solver. And that's what 5s are exceptional at. They're exceptional at creative problem solving. They are the savior. And part of the reason why is because they feel an immense pressure to do so. It's like part of their purpose is to solve problems and take those solutions and universalize them. So, like a door, for instance, like a door was a universalization of this idea that we need to be able to like close the entrance to our house, right? And so it was like, let me come up with a solution for that and then universalize it. That's what the 5 is for. So typically, a lot of what the 5 is going to work through, and of course, like, I work with a lot of very visible entrepreneurs and founders. And so a lot of them are 5s. And a lot of the work that we do is around visibility, because what happens is when you live your life with people noticing that you're a leader, knowing that you're really good at solving problems, everyone will project their problems onto you to solve. Everyone will project their insecurities onto who you think they are, and also might want you to solve those too without even knowing it, right? Like people are just projecting onto you all the time. The 5 is the one that's like, everyone thinks that they know me, but only 3 people do. Because everyone is projecting their idea of who you are onto you. And that idea usually comes from the problems and insecurities that are inside. Not always. Like sometimes the 5 is actually like very much idolized, but the 5 is the one that you're not really ever neutral about, you know? Like to give you an example, like Taylor Swift is a 5-1. I know Harry Styles has a 5 in his profile. And like this level of celebrity is not just being seen, it's being worshipped on a global mass
Yeah.
level.
Yeah. Makes
And
so much sense. Yeah.
it's not just like, oh, I'm a Taylor Swift fan. It's like, I live and breathe Taylor Swift. Like I like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a
But
lifestyle.
I actually can't stand Taylor Swift, but like, and I think there's nothing about her. I just like don't resonate with her music. But
Of course.
literally, I was like, I was walking down the street yesterday, and like somebody's fucking license plate is like T Swift. I'm like, you like somebody so much that you've made your license. Like these people are crazy about Taylor Swift. That I totally get it.
And listen, I love Taylor Swift. Love her. And actually, what I love most, this is how I am though. I am a person who in my body and my unconscious, I am a projector, which is a whole other level of the chart, but I have projector energy. And like part of what I love most is watching people when they're truly in their genius. And I'm so fascinated by the way people respond to them. Like Taylor Swift is such a fascinating case study for me that I like I'm like, I love it. And the way that she writes her songs, like everything that she does, I'm like, it's so 5-1. And I love to watch the dynamics of it. I love to watch people respond to her because yes, people worship her and idolize her, and they also villainize her. And when you pedestalize someone, there's only one place you can go, which is down. And in human design, we call this the fall from grace. So what's really important for the 5s is like, you have to be so clear on who you are, independent of anyone else's projections, because you will be projected onto. And if you are going to step into your purpose and potential, you will be seen on a massive level. That's just, if you want to live your purpose as a 5, you're going to be seen, right? And you're going to be a leader. So either you don't do that, and you live in fear of other people's projections, which is really just an insecurity within you because you yourself are not so clear and confident in who you are that other people's projections actually warp your self-perception.
Yeah.
You need to be so clear in who you are that there is no warping of self-perception, no matter what people like. Look at Taylor Swift,
Mm.
or
Yeah.
like, it's like, look at what people have said to her, have done to her, all of that. Do you think that she's gonna like go hide because people are projecting stuff onto her that's not true?
Yeah. No. No.
No.
Yeah.
The other thing about the fives is that they have like this mission. They have a mission. You're like, I have a solution, but it's like a lot of fives don't even know like what it is. They don't, but there's like a fire burning inside of them. And it's like, it will consume you if you do not know where to take it, if you don't know where to spread it. Like, you're here to spread it, but if you don't, then it will just consume you. So anywho, but fives, I feel like the fives, there's the greatest gap a lot of times between who people are being and who they really are if they have the
Mm.
five profile, but that's totally and completely 100% changeable starting now if you decide, right? And then
Mhm.
the six is the last one. So we've reached the top. We've reached like the pinnacle, right? And so at this point, it's like we've gone through a lot, and now we have this perspective that
Mm.
is very unique, right?
Mm.
We're not looking to the five. We're not asking the two for help. We're not experimenting. We're not researching. We're just sitting up here in our perch, getting a lay of the land, seeing what's going on, but having a very unique perspective about everything. A lot of people will teach the six and say, you know, this the six has 3 stages of life, which I also teach, but they'll say that the first part of life, you're basically like a 3, and I disagree with that. I think that as a 6, you come to earth with a different perspective. That's why sixes, even as children, are treated like they're older, are
Mm.
seen as being old souls or having more wisdom. Like, my son is a 6-2, my daughter's a 4-6, and I'm a 1-3. So it's literally like, a lot of times I feel like the kid in the family because they have this wise perspective that sometimes it takes me a minute to see. I'm so grateful for them to give it to me. But they just see things differently, even as children.
Mm.
That said, in that first part of life, what's happening is you have a different perspective, and it's like, like, I can see my children like confused sometimes about the way people treat each other,
Mm.
or like, it's like just this confusion because they know, they
Mm.
know deep down like that's not how it's supposed to be, but they
Mm.
don't know how they know that, and it's not something they're conscious of, right? So that those first 30 years, what you're doing is you're having all these experiences, you're learning by trial and error, and you're grounding your perspective in lived experience in the 3D.
Mm.
So it looks like you're a 3, but you're not. You're a 6, and you're trying to ground your perspective. The other thing that's different between 6s and 3s is that 6s, because of that perspective, tend to be more of a perfectionist. So you can
Mhm.
see what it's supposed to be. Your perspective is perfection. Your perspective is, and I don't mean perfection like how we as humans view
Yeah.
perfection, but that's what happens when you're in your human body. Your
Mm.
spirit understands the true meaning of perfection and is always embodying that. So your human is like, how do I manifest this knowing inside of me? And is like, and you're Virgo too, right? So it's probably like super amplified for you. But yeah, that perfectionism can really kind of plague you. But I think if you can change make the shift from perfectionism to refinement, that'll
Mm.
be a key for you. So it's
Mm.
like knowing this is
Mm.
this is really good. All of my work is excellence manifested. Everything that comes out of me is excellence manifested and is always ready for refinement. And you're always going to be refining, right? So if you're a 6, oh yeah, I only talked about the first stage of life. So the second stage of life, which that transition happens around 30, and it's usually like clockwork. Like, after people's Saturn return, it's like They're like, okay, I'm
I
ready to
know.
settle, get married, or
Yeah.
whatever it is. Like whatever your
I-
version of settling is, basically what you want is you want to put down roots. So whatever your roots mean to you, you are ready to feel settled and like you're almost like kind of battered from the first 30 years. And you're like, let me nurse my wounds. Let me
Mm.
integrate the lessons I just had to learn the hard way. Let me get back to who I am and that perspective that I had as a child. How do I integrate these experiences with that perspective and like access who I'm here to be? And that second stage of life is all about that. It's all about going within, integrating, putting down those roots, creating your life. And you also will get glimpses of both the first part of life and the third part of life when you're in that middle stage. So you will still like be breaking the bonds sometimes, or learning through trial and error sometimes, or bumping into things sometimes. But also that third part of life and that transition happens around age 50 is when you become the role model human. You embody that perfection that your perspective has always known. It's like you had to have those I know I got it too. You had to have those experiences in the first 30 years. You had to have the integration period. It's like, let me integrate my human body and my human experiences with my spiritual and like godlike perspective and enter this third stage of life as this fully integrated whole being who represents the role model human. It represents that the tippity top before we begin again. Those are the profile lines in a nutshell. But what you want to look at is like, as I went through that, look at what placement it is. It does matter. So if you're a 5-1, it's very different from being a 2-5, right? So even though you're both fives, it's going to present differently if you have 5 in the first place versus 5 in the second place. So, but yeah, I mean, profile is my favorite. I could talk about profile.
This was the cool. I'm so glad you went into it because this was like, I literally, as you're talking, like I have to send this to this person. I have to send it. Like, I want to know everybody's chart now that's around me. But this was the coolest thing. Yeah. And actually everything that you said resonated so well just from my own personal chart. It's funny because I'm a 6-3, right? So I have that element of like this, I need to trial and error, but it's like terrifying because I'm like, it's not perfect. And like, I'm going to make a mistake and like, and all the time. But I do actually believe that because I have the 6 and a projector, like I just get it. Like, I just know things and I don't know how I know them, but like, I just have this perception and I mean, I believe it's right. But I also attract people that have somewhat of a similar perspective now. Like most of my one-on-one clients are also projectors. And so I'm able to really see into them. They see into me. I have to learn experience. Like sometimes I'll just get random bouts of, I don't know whether it's anxiety or it's like I have to like learn something. And then as soon as I'm done learning it, it makes sense because all of my clients go through it at the same time. And I'm just like, oh, I had to, thank you. You're welcome. I had to learn it first and now I can share it with you. But it's just so cool. If you guys are listening and you have not already looked at your chart, you absolutely need to. Krystal, we're going to put this on we're going to put your website on the show notes. And you said that they can get their chart right on your website, correct?
They can get their chart. And also I don't know when this is going to go live, but I'm currently in the process of developing a quiz that will help you to pinpoint exactly where you're out of alignment with your type or your authority or your centers, and then give you actual steps to shift in real time, and it's free. So that hopefully will be available when this goes live, and we'll have the link in the show notes. If not, just watch my Instagram, join my email list, and you'll be the first to know when that quiz drops, because it's going to be such a really cool tool to help you just pinpoint exactly what those limits and those old patterns are that need shifting.
Yeah, so cool. I'm ironically also adding a quiz to my website, very different, but I was like, I got that quiz download as well. But I know that you mentioned so Instagram and then your website. Is there anywhere else that people can find you?
I have a podcast too. It's called Under the Surface, and then also YouTube. I don't know my YouTube name, but we'll put the link down there.
Okay. And then you had mentioned, because I know we were chatting about a possible VIP day and stuff, but do you primarily work with business owners? Like, is there what's your audience? Who do you work with? If people want to book sessions with you, what does that look like?
I typically work with like really sensitive, emotional, gifted healers, coaches, founders, and leaders who are very mission driven. And so they come to me because they want clarity on who they are at their deepest core, what their mission is at its deepest core, and how do we manifest that into their business and through their business and through their life. So that's kind of the work that I do one-on-one with people. I do very, 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 very limited one-on-one work. I'll just say that now. So it's limited, but I do have plenty of other ways to work with me. I teach human design. So I have a training program for coaches and healers and consultants and anyone who works with people in some capacity. So that's actually going to be relaunching soon in a whole new format. And I'm really excited to teach that. But that's the main thing, is just getting in the community, taking the quiz. And I have so many free resources available too.
Amazing. This was such an informative morning for me. As a projector, I love learning. So thank you so much. And now I can understand it. I just wanted to say thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thanks for sharing with my audience. It was lovely chatting with you. If you liked this episode, don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you back at another episode of The Mindful Method.
Thank you.